Today we are going to talk about Greek philosophers. Wait, I thought I already made videos about it. Well, this is the second part. And this time we're going to talk about Plato and Aristotle. Now, who is Plato? Plato is like one of the students of Socrates. In fact, when his teacher Socrates died, Plato was there. And Plato was very sad and Plato was very devastated with the death of his teacher. His teacher, according to him, is the victim of injustice and also the ignorance of the people. And because of that one, Plato is then seriously thinking that people need educations. People need to be educated according to Plato. He then continued his teaching Socrates into a greater application. Plato believed that everyone must practice the Socratic method on themselves and also to each others, because he believed that through the dialogue with ourselves and also with others, it will make people become wiser. In the long run, the whole city become like wiser. It become a better place to live. Because he believed that eventually the whole city will become wiser and then the whole city become less ignorant. It create a city that free from injustice, evil, and also oppression. So this ultimate idealistic society known as the Utopia. Well, perhaps a couple of years ago you watched this kind of like Disney movie, Zootopia. So if you can imagine like what Zootopia looks like, where all animals, they live side by side peacefully and then they don't harm each other. The predators, they don't try to eat, rabbits, for example. So everything is just like peaceful. Now, the name Zootopia is from this word, utopia. Now, this utopia is the idealistic society that Plato imagined if everyone practiced Socratic method on themselves. While his teacher Socrates never wrote any book, Plato, he was very productive. He wrote several books, and one of the two famous books that he wrote is Apologia and also Republic. Apologia is a book about the account of Socrates during his trial, his defense, and also the conversation and the dialogue that he had with his friend just right before he died. Even though it seems to be kind of a simple format, like dialogue between Socrates and these people, but it has a valuable wisdom in that story. Maybe someday when you grow up a little bit, then you should read that book. Maybe someday when you grow up a little bit, that you should try also read the book, Apologia by Plato. And the second book that he wrote is Republic. Now, Republic is very complex, and he even explained about the idea about utopia also in that book, Republic. So talks about Republic. Plato, he do not like the idea about democracy, because according to him, democracy is just as silly as a ship with everyone that claims that they are the captains, including the passengers. The ships will not gonna go anywhere. The ships will not gonna go anywhere if everybody claim that they are the captains. In the book of Republic, now again, according to Plato, the ultimate utopian city must be led by one person, and this person must be a philosopher king, someone who is entitled, someone who is dedicate his life, entire of his life, to seek the truth or to seek wisdom. And then this person must be selfless. This person must have a servanthood attitude, leading the society, leading the city with his wisdom. Another notable teachings from Plato is his idea about idealistic. Okay, the idealistic is you heard that word before, like the word ideal, like the ideal car, the ideal holiday, the ideal parents, the ideal friends. Now, according to Plato, everything in this world, tangible and intangible, it only the shadow of the true ideal form somewhere out there. For example, you tried an ice cream and you think that ice cream is the best, but somewhere out there, you haven't found it yet, there is better ice cream than the one that you're currently eating right now. It's always a never-ending journey to find the ultimate idealistic ice cream. Now, Plato believed that the ice cream, for example, the idealistic ice cream, it cannot be achieved. It cannot be found no matter what. It's out of the world, according to him. That explains in the English expression, whenever you taste delicious food or delicious ice cream or whatever the experience is as out of the world. Like for example, this ice cream is so delicious, it's out of the world. Now that idea comes from this Plato's teaching that the idealistic is somewhere out there and it can never be reached. However, does that mean we stop searching? No, according to Plato. According to Plato, we need to keep searching. Well, not just literally the ice cream, but everything in the world. You name it. Like the love, justice, brave, wisdom. Everything is out of the world, but it does not stop you. You should kind of like, pursue it. You need to keep looking for the better one. And then realize and fully aware that everything in this world is just the shadow of the true idealistic form of that thing or thoughts or ideas. So to make things more simple for his audience, Plato comes up with this allegory. Now allegory is a fiction, it's a parable. You can say that parable, even though it's a bit different. But the point is to make his teaching is become more easy to understand with this illustration known as the allegory of the cave. Now somewhere in the Google Classroom that I set up, I prepare already a special clip to explain about like the allegory of the cave. It helps you a lot to understand Plato's teachings about what is ideal form. Well, in the end, Plato has become like one of the greatest teachers in the Western civilizations. His teachings somehow are still being applicable in the modern world right now. And then he built a school by the name of Academy, and his school became like the example of the modern education institution. Many of the educations in the world are copying the Academy. The school was there from 387 BC all the way to 86 AD. Now the next Greek philosopher is someone by the name of Aristotle. So Aristotle is like one of the students of Plato. In fact, Aristotle was considered to be as the best Plato student ever. He was so brilliant and he was so smart. And then somehow a lot of people thought that he himself expected that maybe someday he will be the one who replacing his teacher Plato to run the academy. Unfortunately, when Plato died, the one who became like the principal, the one who become the principal was not Aristotle, just like everyone expected. It's someone else. It was Plato's cousin. Now, not sure how does that kind of like make Aristotle feel, but one thing for sure, after that decisions, Aristotle, he kind of like, he went home. He went back home to his hometown in Stygira. And later on, he became like the personal tutor of a prince, of a king. The king by the name of Philip II of Macedonia. If you can guess the name of this student, you are awesome, okay? And then, yes, the answer is Alexander the Great. Yes, Aristotle is the personal tutor of Alexander the Great. Well, back then when he became the tutor like Alexander the Cute, because he's still a student, not yet great. But anyway, that is like one of the things that make Aristotle become famous, because the personal tutor of Alexander the Great. Just in case that you do not know who is Alexander the Great, he was a young boy who conquered so many lands and then carved himself as an empire, stretched all the way from northern part of India all the way to Greece and including Egypt. And he created a lot of destruction and death. And why he was still being called great again? Well, oh yeah, because he achieved it before he was 30 years old. Anyway, so Alexander the Great, he was a brilliant student of Aristotle, and then even though he was a commander, but then again he is a genius, and then he likes to study, and then he's very inquisitive toward his teachers. And then while he's continuing his journey conquering the world, going to the edge of the world, he kept sending specimen back to his teacher Aristotle. And then Aristotle, he kind of like somehow, and Aristotle used this kind of like specimen for his studies. Now back to Aristotle. He came from Stygira, one of the city in Athens, and then somehow, his city was being destroyed by King Philip II. Somehow King Philip II discovered that Aristotle, he was a very talented teacher, so that is the reason like why he was being hired as a tutor for his son, Alexander the Great. Well, of course, Aristotle, he asked that King Philip to liberate the city of Stygira and then rebuild every destruction that he made. And then he did it. And King Philip fulfilled that promise. And then he rebuilt the city, and then he let everyone who were being captured in the city of Stygira as a free man instead of like as a slave. Now, to describe Aristotle, he probably the early scientist. he studies so many subjects, and then he built another competitor school, that academy like belongs to Plato. He built another school known as he named it as a Lyceum. Now Lyceum is become like the modern model of what the university all about. It's a form of an education institution that somehow studying multiple disciplines like geometry, astronomy, mathematics, arts, literatures, history, so many subjects, yes. While his teacher Plato believed that what is ideal and what is true is real. Now, for Aristotle, he does not believe that if the subject cannot be experienced with our senses, with our five senses, eyes, hearing, smells, taste, and also touch, then it's not real according to him. According to Aristotle, something is considered to be real if it has an evidence and then it can be observed. So therefore, with this kind of like idea, Aristotle, he developed what we call like the scientific methods. Now, what is scientific methods? Is basically activity of studying something or learn about something based on the observations and also experiments. Now, Aristotle, he was famous for his teaching about the four causes. Basically, it's a guideline to observe an object that he studied based on its classification. Now, the four causes, according to him, there were four. The first one is like material cause, like what is made from. And the second one is the formal cause, which is like, which is how that things were being made or shaped. The third one is the efficient cause, which is how things were made, how that particular object is being made. And last but not least is the final cause. What is the goal, what is the purpose of that object or that subject is being created or being made. Let's just take an example, for example, a wooden table. What is the material cause? Wood, of course. Where do you get the wood from? Of course, from the trees. Now, what is the formal cause? Of course, the formal cause is table, okay? It looks like a table. It has four legs and then it has a four rectangular kind of like platform on top of that four legs. That what makes it looks like a table. And then like what is the efficient cause? The carpenter, okay, the one who kind of like shave it and then cut it and then using the saw and then everything. Well, if you get the table from IKEA, and also other than the carpenter is you, okay? You are the one who somehow assemble that table into a table. Now, last but not least, the final cause. What is the main purpose of the table? It's as a table, okay? It's to work as a function as a table. It could be, it depends. It could be a dining table. It could be a table that you can use for studying. It can be a table that you can use to put the decorations and whatever it is. Okay, but can you use that table for something else? For example, can you use it as a chair? Yes, you can. Can you use it as a dancing platform? Yes, you can. But is that the true final purpose? No, it's not, right? And so now let me challenge you. What about human beings? Think about it. What is the material cause? What is the formal cause? What is the efficient cause? And what is the final cause of a human being? Think about that. Now, how to be happy according to Aristotle? Now, to be happy is, of course, not having something excessively, at the same thing, not having lack of it or deficit. Deficit and excessive. That's a two antonym there. Not having too much, excessive, not having too little or deficit. To define that one, to be happy, you have to be right there somewhere in the middle. We call it as the golden mean. Now, for example, the quality of being brave, okay? Having too much of it or excessive, we call it as the reckless. But then again, having too little to it, then we call it as the cowardice. In order for us to be happy, according to Aristotle, should be right there in the middle. Should be right there in the middle. We call it as the courageous. Yeah? Courageous is not an absence of fear. Courageous also is not having too much kind of too much kind of like recklessness, because reckless is kind of like you're not thinking twice of the consequences. You are denying the danger, you are denying like the fear itself. That is not like what Aristotle wants you to have. So in the end, there are so many kind of like Greek philosophers before Socrates, and also several later, and then also several Greek philosophers after Plato and Aristotle, but basically they are nothing new of their teachings. They are just like, they are adding up from these three philosophers: Aristotle, Plato, and also Socrates. The Greek culture became popular later on thanks to Alexander the Great, as he conquered so many lands, so many different nations, so many different tongues. The Greek culture were being promoted by him to be adopted by these people, and that kind of like idea of the Greek culture should be adopted with this kind of like different nations, different kingdoms, known as the Hellenistic. So the good things that Alexander brought to this place are the Hellenistic culture, or the Greek culture, to which this Greek influence and also culture also affecting Jerusalem prior to the coming of Christ, and also the Christianity itself. What does that mean? The Greek culture is preparing the world, the non-Jewish nations surrounding the non-Jewish nations, to accept the message of the gospel itself. What does it mean? It means like this. When Paul wrote those kind of like, when Paul and also the apostle wrote the letters, his audience, most of his audience are Greek-speaking world. And then the original letters in the New Testaments are written in Greeks. Suppose that these Greek philosophers, suppose that Alexander the Great never conquered this part of this world, then the message of the gospel will not gonna go around. Will just like stay there, in particular in Judea or Jerusalem. Will not gonna go anywhere. Interesting, isn't it? Anyway, that's it for today. I see you guys next time. God bless you guys all. Bye-bye.